Good evening, Hound Dog Steve here, and it is Saturday evening, the 6th of May 2017, and we are on the eve of the French election. And this has been quite a stunning race all the way through. And as I suspected, Marine Le Pen has been smeared by the press and by Emmanuel Macron. And of course, it's kind of interesting how we're starting to see a pattern now between Brexit, Trump and Marine Le Pen in the approach that shall we say, the globalists try and discredit somebody. And of course, here we have all the usual suspects. Putin is involved here, and the Russians. She's a Nazi. This is an old favourite. She's a xenophobe, anti-Muslim, a Euro killer, an EU killer. Now, there's some breaking news actually taking place. Yesterday, there was a massive release of information, of emails that have been hacked out of Emmanuel Macron's campaign headquarters, amounting to some 9 gig of data, and that is a lot of emails and pictures, my friend. And so it's been a little bit of a late release for people to go through it and to actually put out there in the press what is in these leaks. But so far, basically it turns out that Emmanuel Macron has got some money offshore in the Cayman Islands and other places, and so whether this will damage his run for president or not, it's kind of interesting at the timing of the release, because the rumours are just flying around right now, and the fact that really the only thing that has been released is his connection to offshore banking and the Rothschilds through the Rothschild C Bank, where he worked as a broker. And actually, miraculously, within a few short months of his starting to work at this company, he pulled off some $1 million deal. Anyways, it certainly was a large corporation, and it's just interesting how you step into that position, you immediately start to make really big bucks. You step from that into Monsieur Hollande's government, which was a socialist government, and now you come out as a globalist and a Rothschild broker. What I find fascinating is that these people just never seem to learn by their mistakes. We've had Brexit, Trump, and now the French election. In all 3 cases, they have polarized the public and shut down the conversation. And this is so important because, we have these 2 ideologies, the left and the right, the red and the blue, whichever way you want to look at it. And these 2 ideologies are the left wing. Okay, they are low in conscientiousness but high in openness. And the right wing, or the conservatives, are high in conscientiousness and low in openness. This is why you see conservatives will drive other people to the election. They turn out in droves to vote, and it's a real push to get the liberals or the left wing to go out there and actually do that. It's always been a huge problem, is that the left just isn't motivated enough. They're not conscientious enough to go out and do that. Okay, so we have these 2 ideologies, and underneath all of this, society weaves backwards and forwards like this. And so there are times in history where you need to be more liberal than conservative, more open, and there are times when you need to be more closed or more conservative than liberal. It's not all of one or all of the other. And so we do really well when we have these 2 polarities, and we keep the conversation open, and we weave backwards and forwards, and somehow we find a middle path between these 2 positions. However, if you shut down the conversation, and that's what's been happening, all of a sudden you jump out into extremes. So you get extreme nationalism and, radical left. And neither of these paths are good for the public. We end up getting bounced around like a football. Okay, and so shame on you, press, for shutting down the conversation. And I hope that through YouTube we can open the conversation between these two polarities and keep us on the path that is basically probably the best we can achieve. I don't think you're ever going to get perfection. I don't think you're ever going to get utopia. There is only going to be differences between these two polarities. But if you have a rule of law that binds these two polarities within certain parameters, the rule of law exists and you can't flaunt the law, and there is a conversation between the two left open by the media, and realizing how important that is and how dangerous it is to shut down the conversation. And that's why you're seeing some of these extreme results and positions that are being held fast, people who are digging in their heels and don't want to have the conversation, because it usually seems to fall into name calling and insults, and there is no sway between both parties. So what it comes down to is, like America, France is divided, and the north, the industrial area of France, has been basically decimated by globalism and a lot of outsourcing of jobs, a lot of automation taking over. So people have really been literally hurt. And yet in Paris and in the south, there may be a little bit of upset, but basically life is going on as usual. And so, Macron looks like the candidate to vote for. So I think that's what it will come down to, is whether there is enough people in the north to vote Marine Le Pen in. What direction Marine Le Pen would take if she was elected, we have to remember that she's a National Socialist, and this was the ruling government in Germany during the Second World War. So beyond Frexit and an exit from the euro into using the French franc internally, we really don't know exactly what Marine Le Pen will do. And extreme left-wing politics, as in globalization, is as bad as extreme right-wing politics. It's both those systems, when you get into the extremes of either side, it's not good for the public. We tend to be the football then. So I'd like to add in a few video clips that I took of web pages that basically show some of the things that are going on behind the scenes in this election that are a little underhanded, I think. And anyway, here they are. Take a look.
People have been able to see the real Macron in the second round. A candidate of the elite's mask is slipping.
I am supporting Emmanuel Macron to lead you forward.
Have you ever seen a clearer illustration of partisan bias?
Well, you can hear it. Factory workers whose jobs are under threat booed Mr. Macron.
France will be led by a woman. It'll be either me or Mrs. Merkel. That's the truth.
These kind of systems did bring forth, people like Pol Pot and Hitler and Stalin and so on and so forth. So, we really want to stay away from extremes. So the choice between the two candidates is horrible. It's very much like the American election. Hillary and Trump. I mean, who do you vote for? I mean, I think either way you'd be holding your nose, because they're both not the greatest of candidates. And as it turns out, in America, although I'm slipping off topic here, it's looking like business as usual. But anyways, I digress. Personally, I still think that you are going to see a shocking upset tomorrow, and that Marine Le Pen will win, even though the press are saying that Macron is 20 points ahead in polling of Le Pen. Remember that Hillary Clinton was 90% certainty to get elected. Okay, and that proved to be a very wrong prediction. And so the reason I'm saying that I still believe that Marine Le Pen has a very, very, very solid chance here is that they've used the same tactics. The press have shut down the public dialogue. They have polarized the public, so it's just angry voices on both sides. And I heard on one show that they were asking people who they were going to vote for, and the reporter said that those voting for Marine Le Pen wouldn't say so into the microphone. Okay, so you can see there that there is people shutting down their voice in public because they're frightened of the consequences. And so I think you're going to see this massive backlash that the globalists are just not expecting, and they need to figure this out, because it just ain't working. You can see it just isn't working. So anyways, I am again watching with bated breath, and I hope you will join me after the election, and we'll have a little roundup and see what happened. And okay, so this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, and I hope you have a great evening and a great weekend. Please don't forget to like and subscribe below, and share with your friends if you've enjoyed this conversation and some of the information that I've shared with you. And we will talk soon.